Spoilers.
What's going on, y'all? Brother Doug here. Just got back from a secret screening held by my friends at Movie Pilot to see none other than Captain America Civil War, aka Cap 3. This movie was better than the Avengers. Not to say that the Avengers wasn't good, because it's still my top 5 favorite Marvel movies of all time. It just got bumped down to number 2, because Cap 3 is number 1. So usually what I do with my reviews, I start off with the spoiler-free review, and then I move on to the spoiler half. But because it's such an awesome movie, I want to go full spoilers. So without further ado, let's get things started. So prior to watching this movie, I was on Team Iron Man. Not because my Black Panther is in it, not because Spidey is in it, but because Tony is after Bucky, because Bucky was responsible for his parents' death. And for me, I can't really be, you know, affiliated with someone that murdered my parents. You know, that's just, an internal thing with me. Like, I just can't really be affiliated with you like that. But speaking of Black Panther and Spidey, I'm gonna start off with Black Panther first since he's my favorite character. Chadwick Boseman played the hell out of this role. He's playing all the best heroes. Jackie Robinson, James Brown, T'Challa. He's playing Thurgood Marshall next. He's playing the best iconic roles to date. And he did an amazing job with his portrayal of T'Challa. Now when I read Black Panther comics, I'm going to imagine his voice now. Because like when I read Iron Man comics, I imagine Robert Downey Jr.'s voice. Tom Holland as Spidey, dope. To date, I think this is the best Spider-Man that we've all been waiting for. You know, no disrespect to Sam Raimi's films, no disrespect to Mark Webb's films, no disrespect to Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield. You know, each Spider-Man movie had its own little niche, you know, it had its own little thing going on that were enjoyable to some folks, and, you know, but this one here, I was just smiling throughout the entire movie. Every time he showed up on screen, like, man, that's the Spidey we're looking for. And Spider-Man, if you watch the commercials and the trailers and whatnot, you know, the fight with, the part when, at the airport when they're all running towards each other, you know, Team Cap and Team Iron Man. Well, apparently that was some good editing because they digitally removed Spider-Man. Spider-Man was part of that fight. It was just so crazy. Okay, I see what they were doing. That's great marketing. You know, definitely teasing and whetting the appetites of the folks that are going to spend the money to see this movie. The only thing I didn't like about Tom Holland Spidey was that, well, for this movie particularly, I can understand why, and I'll get to it in a second, was that, you know, most of his screen time when he was in Spidey was CGI. You know, the only time we see him, you know, in the practical suit is like for like, what, 10, 15 seconds when he takes off the mask, or maybe that was digital as well. I don't know. But it would have been nice to see him actually battle with the suit. I mean, granted, I know some of y'all are like, well, Sam Raimi's and Mark Webb's out of CGI Spidey. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, as far as, you know, interacting with the other characters in the suit. You know, you can definitely tell when you watch the movie that it was a CGI suit. And some kind of nerd he is. Like, he was like, that old movie. Well, they can't reference Star Wars. They referenced it in the last movie, Cap 2. Remember when Cap was going through his list of things to do in the present day, like Star Wars and Star Trek, and he was Spidey was like when he was taking down Giant Man, who's in this movie, he was like, yeah, it's just like that old movie where the big walking white thingies, and he took him down, like Empire Strikes Back, some old movie, like yeah, Star Wars. And even Tony and Rhodey brought that up, like, how old is this kid? And speaking of that airport fight, boy, man, let me just tell you that it was just like a Marvel version of Smash Brothers, you know, all these distinctive individuals using their powers and whatnot. It was just awesome. That definitely took inspiration from Civil War, the comic, but told its own story. Like, for one, at the end of Civil War, the comic, Cap dies. Well, even though he doesn't die, he just falls into a coma, but the public thinks that he's dead. Also, Bucky becomes Cap. However, during the end credit scene, we're back in Wakanda, where T'Challa and Cap are discussing Bucky's decision to be back in a frozen time capsule for the greater good. I think the reason they did that was because, you know, people like me and a lot of the fans who read the books, they kind of knew that we would see the ending coming. But for one, I thought Tony was going to die at first, kind of the way Cap was beating the hell out of him. So at the end, Cap breaks the other team out, you know, Hawkeye, Ant-Man / Giant Man, Falcon, and Scarlet Witch out. And at the end, during the end credit scene, Cap is in Wakanda. So does that mean that the Avengers are going to show up in Black Panther? So what happened to Black Widow? The last time we saw her was during the hospital scene, you know, after Rhodey's MRI, you know, telling Tony to watch her back. You know, the thing y'all seen from the previews. What happened to her? Did she go and create another alias? I'm hearing rumors that she might have a solo movie coming out. Supposedly, that's the untitled Marvel film. The comics, though, the Registration Act was created by the Skrulls. The Skrulls are these little aliens that can shapeshift. They can't be in the MCU because Fox owns the rights to them because they're actually Fantastic Four's villains. But however, they can't do the storyline anyway because Hydra does it in this movie. Zemo, he's the reason why the two opposing teams are fighting. Team Cap and Team Iron Man. He's planting stuff for them. As far as Zemo being a villain, I mean, he was. I mean, he was evil, but I mean, he wasn't memorable, if you would. Other than that, y'all, I give this movie a 5 out of 5. Now, before I go, I did want to give out some suggestions of comics you guys should definitely pick up, like I always do with these comic book movie reviews. During that fight with Spider-Man and Giant Man, I definitely thought they took inspiration from when Spider-Man, aka Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spidey, I should say, battled Scott Lang's daughter, Cassie Lang, in the Ultimate Universe. So I was like, oh, I see what they're doing. Making all kind of jokes while he's fighting the giant person. See, I had to get to the panel. Also, when Rhodey was injured, I thought they were going to go by this approach. So in this book, Dark Reign, War Machine, Dark Reign, Rhodey, he's injured. Kind of like Cyborg, you see he has, half a head, an arm missing, well, pretty much every limb missing. And so this movie answered the big question I wanted to know about Avengers 2 and Iron Man 3. When Tony says he blew up all the suits that we saw in Iron Man 3, that's why him and Pepper broke up because, he kept building another suit and he was like, I can't stop, it's just who I am, an inventor, a tinker. I've been getting this a lot. I don't want to start no Marvel or DC war, but I've been getting a lot of flack saying, which one's better, Batman or Superman or Cap 3? They're both awesome in their own right. It's funny, though, because both movies take place, well, the opening scenes take place in Africa. Batman vs. Superman went to go save Lois in Nigeria. The Avengers are in Lagos, Nigeria. Definitely the obvious one, heroes fighting heroes because of manipulation by a villain, Lex Luthor with Batman vs. Superman, and Zemo with Captain Iron Man. Alright, so that's what I thought about Cap 3. What are some of your theories? What are some Marvel comics that I should check out? You already know what to do. Put the comments below. Make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe, follow me on Facebook and Twitter, and like always, deuces. How many times are y'all gonna go see this movie?